Hello, and welcome to Season 12 of The Horrific Podcast. We're two friends who live in different places but share a love for scary movies. Each week we watch the same movie on our own and then hop on a call to discuss it. This season, the theme is blatant pandering. We're going to review 10 movies that were either made in or set in the U.S. states that have downloaded the most episodes of The Horrific over the last few years. This will be a shorter season, so we may work in some listener recommendations and horror news along the way too. Thanks for listening.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little down this week. So we watched Halloween Ends for this episode because it just feels right. Like we can't have that come out and not cover it. I mean, horror is like our thing, and it's an event, you know, at this point. But
right,
it's just like after seeing the second one of the new requel trilogy, I was like, I don't want to see the third one. But like, I kind of knew I was going to see it. But like, I didn't go see it in theaters, and I was like, well, when it's free, I'll watch it. But then we're doing the episode. We got to do it while it's fresh, while it's still out there for people to watch. We got to stay relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I signed up for I was going to do another free trial with a different email address on Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, well, I can just add 1 month back. So I'll just do that. So now I'm paying for Peacock again. I watched a movie I didn't want to see. And when I was watching it, I was like, all right, tonight I'm going to do everything else perfect so that like, no matter how the movie is, it'll still be a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought a really nice steak.
Ooh.
And then proceeded to overcook it.
Ooh.
So there is nothing redeeming about this experience.
Ooh. Yeah, you know, you could have just borrowed my Peacock login, though.
Well, but now I'm watching Yellowstone and wearing my cowboy hat. You know how it goes.
That's a good point.
You know.
Yeah. What was funny, though, is this is actually the first movie that my wife and I have been able to watch completely together in probably over a year. So that
I can't imagine what happened just over a year ago that might made life harder to schedule.
Exactly. No, it was funny. Like we, I noticed that while watching, but it was like, I don't want to jinx it, you know? So, so we got to actually sit there and watch all the way through. And after it was done, we were like, oh, okay. You know, cool. And, Katie's like, do you think you want to throw on another movie? And it's like, I don't want to push it. Like, I don't, we got something good back. Like, I don't want to push it yet. So
did you watch it while your son was asleep? Is that why you got to see all of it?
Oh, no.
Oh.
No, he was just, he doesn't pay attention to the TV. So, he was just doing his own thing.
Oh,
and,
okay. Gotcha.
And yeah, so we were playing with him while, it was going in the background.
Gotcha. Well, I was going to say, I wish I could have been the one that slept through this movie, but that didn't work.
Well, it's funny though. I told her, I was like, well, should we, or I asked her, I was like, do you want to watch this together? Or like, I'm going to go to the back room and watch it. If not, and she's like, no, we can. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess if it gets, if it seems like he's paying attention, let's, pause it or something, but he didn't. We got him some toys when we were out of town on Friday, and so he was just playing with those, so it kind of worked out.
Nice.
So it was nice for us, because it was like, oh sweet, we haven't been able to do this ever. Like if you go through our viewing history on any app that we have, it's just like partial movies.
Stuff.
Yeah, legitimately, it's just all partial movies. Yeah.
Well, cool. I'm glad it was a good experience. That may be the last good thing we have to talk about with this one. We'll see how it goes. I'm curious what your impressions are. But yeah, the movie we're reviewing this week is Halloween Ends, and I will do the introduction. Then you can do your fun facts, and then we will get into the 90% of not Michael Myers details.
Perfect.
In 2022, Universal Pictures brought us Halloween Ends, the third and final installment of the Halloween requel trilogy. This movie takes place 4 years after the events of Halloween Kills and follows the lives of Laurie and her granddaughter Allison as they seem to be moving on from the vicious Michael Myers attacks. Turns out, though, the past is not so easy to leave behind. Halloween Ends was made on a budget of $33 million and brought in over $103 million at the box office somehow. It can currently be streamed on HBO Max. What did you learn about this movie?
So, did you notice that Michael Myers got his revenge with the knitting needle? So that was a reference to the original, where he got shanked with it. Just thought that was kind of interesting. They put a lot of emphasis on it, so I was like, oh yeah, this is that makes sense. So I've created a new policy after this film where I'm going to start researching facts before watching, because I think I have more interest sometimes before.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a new, I got a couple little ones. So basically this is the third and final, Halloween that's going to be done by, David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, Blumhouse, that whole group. It's not going to be the last Halloween film though.
Yeah.
That goes back to I don't remember his name. I didn't pay it. That's going to go back to someone else who I'm sure is going to keep this going. Now, Jamie Lee Curtis has said multiple times that she's not going to do another one, another Halloween film. But she also said that after Halloween 2.
Yeah.
She said that, before Halloween Resurrection, when she actually had her character killed off. So, you take it for what it's worth, but she says she's not going to do another one.
Until the next time she needs money.
Probably. Yeah. That's my guess too. Nah, that's it. That's the final. That's all I got. The other thing too is it just came out, so I'm sure the real good facts are coming soon, but, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I know that I have probably an overly negative response to this movie as someone who is very interested in the Halloween franchise, who, records episodes where I talk to a friend about horror movies and what we like and don't like about them and all that. I think that with the Halloween requel trilogy, I feel like the first movie was good, but it set expectations that the second and third one had no intention of meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. And it's difficult because I partially feel like it's to blame the filmmakers for it, but in a weird way. And the weird way is the first one was basically saying, hey, we're skipping everything from 3 to 9 or whatever. Yeah. We're starting, this is what takes place after, Halloween 2. And so it kind of got people excited because it's like a reset. And it was like, okay, yes. I'm sure there are people out there that really enjoy Season of the Witch and, all the Halloweens that fall after, but there's no one they could tell me that any Halloween film that came after the first one is better than the first one. Just the way my brain works. Yeah. And so when they're coming in and kind of starting it, paying homage to the originals, keeping that original story going, it gets people excited. It wasn't a bad film,
And it actually had Michael in it.
Yeah, it actually had him in it. But the problem was what's the follow up to something like that? And do you even have to, have a follow up?
Right.
I'm sure being that we're in the, contracts and, you can do this film for 3 movies kind of thing is we have to.
Oh yeah. And after the first one printed money, they're not going to turn the money machine off.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. But so with the first one, it was I remember saying I just, it's just exciting to watch fans of the film make a Halloween film because that feels all of us and, all us, who are into horror films is a dream almost, and so it was that's awesome. But then you get to the second one and it was it was just focusing on, social problems and all that and trying to be, socially acceptable when
Our
the movie's
own fear is the real villain.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then we basically knew, like, okay, well, hopefully they finish it off strong. I also think that's what I said after we recorded the Halloween Kills episode, was like,
right.
Hopefully they end strong. But I do think it's like the filmmakers' fault in a way. It was just like, why did you, like, you had a pretty solid idea and you kind of just shit on it.
Yeah. And so the idea of how do we create more movies in this universe that aren't just rinse and repeat of the first one? Mm-hmm. I mean, I get that that's a hard problem. I get the idea of like, well, can we find like an interesting take, or can we maybe do something different than what people would expect? Like, how can we make this more like interesting and creative than just, you know, another 2 hours of Michael walking through the town stabbing people? Like, I get it. I don't really think I like the choices they made on where to take it from there.
I agree. Yeah.
So, yeah. But so getting, I guess, more into the details of it, one thing that did kind of make me laugh was in the beginning, you've got like the babysitter and the young kid that are watching The Thing on TV. And that made me wonder, is The Thing the horror movie with the most appearances in other horror movies at this point?
Probably. Yeah.
I feel like it's got to be either that or Night of the Living Dead that are like on in the background of like every other, like if there's going to be a movie, like another horror movie on TV in the background of a horror movie, it's got to be one of those two, right?
Yeah. I don't remember if it was The Rite that we were doing. I don't remember which one. It was a film that we had just recently done, and they had like an old school horror movie playing, and like The Thing was like the option of one of the movies that they wanted to play. So I think it just seems like that's the one that, you know, everyone kind of associates with it.
Yeah. I feel like it's a very influential one. So everybody's showing like, oh yeah, we know our horror movies because.
Yeah. And it, you know, obviously a tie, John Carpenter, you know?
Yeah.
That was kind of, I think the thought for me was like, oh, tying in, the dude's other films, you know, for this one. But yeah. Definitely one of the most used, I would think. Yeah.
This one, talking about most used, we know one thing we've pointed out over and over again is that a lot of times with horror movies, they will start off or do the setup by having like a really intense opening scene and then kind of like reset and build the story from there. And so this one definitely did that with the opening about, you know, the kid and the babysitter. The kid locks the babysitter in the attic. He freaks out, tries to get out, kicks the door, knocks the kid over the banister, and then he lands and dies in a very gruesome fashion. And that also reminded me that towards the beginning of the first one in the trilogy, Michael killed a kid. And that still is really striking to me. Like, I feel like you don't see like kids get murdered in movies very often, thankfully.
Yeah.
And that even in horror movies, that's kind of a thing that you don't really see. And so when it's happening, but also in like very gruesome fashion like this, it is very shocking. Like that, I did not expect that that's the way that scene was going to go.
Yeah. I thought it felt like a Conjuring film, that first piece of it.
I could totally see that. Yeah.
It was just like one of those, like, even when he fell, the kid, when he fell off, it was just like, this really just feels like the setup of another Conjuring film, which is okay. You know, okay to me. It's just what I felt when watching it.
Yeah. So yeah, then they do like the intro and the recap with scenes from the previous movies and stuff, I guess, to like catch you up.
Yeah.
But there's also this scene, like this recurring theme of like a very annoying 90s sounding rock radio station that kind of acts like the narrator a little bit through some of the movie, which is an interesting idea. But I couldn't remember, was that in the second one at all? Like, was that just like a self-contained new thing that they made up for this movie, or was that in the previous one? Because I didn't remember it.
I didn't remember it either. But honestly, I'd only watched Halloween Kills for the podcast.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. But I felt like maybe there was supposed to be more to that or something I was supposed to be picking up on with it. but it just seemed like an extra character that they added because they had a cool idea for a death scene in a DJ booth or something. So, I don't never quite figured that out. But
I think it was, for me, I think it was like this movie was difficult to understand because like the comments that you're making earlier in the podcast is 100% true of like, we had a Halloween film, which besides Season of the Witch, has like the least amount of Michael Myers in the film, like altogether. And it was confusing. And part for me was like, I was almost getting frustrated while watching it. And the frustration came off of like, I thought I knew where they were going at with it, where it was like, oh gosh, like Michael's going to die, but this kid's going to be the new one, kind of thing. I just knew that was going to be the case. So like I was kind of frustrated and even like mad at, the characters in it, Corey Cunningham specifically. There are often times where we talk in films where it's like it sucks sometimes having your hand held, right? And this movie is a prime example of hand holding. Like if you're ever confused, like when I say watch Halloween Ends, and you'll know hand holding because they focus on whatever is going to come up later too long, So if it's looking at wherever Michael's going to come out of next or a weapon that he's going to use or something, it just stays on that too long. It makes sure that the viewer sees it, and it's like, it almost like there's a rhythm in films, so it's just like on beat, just 1 and 2, like that. Yeah, but when it gets to where they want you to focus, they add like extra little beat in there. And it's like, wait, what? Like you still aren't in. Now the beats are all off for the rest of the film. I feel like that's what I kind of my music analogy for it.
And it takes away like that element of surprise at any point. You know what I mean? By like right. it telegraphs itself, so then you don't ever have that chance to get really grabbed by it, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
And like seeing a film, like I think I saw more knives be stabbed into wood than I've ever, like hanging at an angle that is going to be missing in a scene coming up because like they just, so it's just like part of it's irritating because you're like, well, there goes your surprise, like there's no surprise if the knife was there, which you focused on, and now the knife's not there, which you focused on, then something's happening, something's coming up. The element of surprise is gone.
Yeah. Yeah, agree. I guess the general story or the overarching kind of what plot for this was that you have this kid named Corey who was babysitting, and then there was that intro scene where he accidentally caused the kid he was babysitting to die, and then the town has shunned him for a long time, and he's getting bullied by teenagers from marching band or something. And then he starts dating Laurie's granddaughter because she's just instantly attracted to him for some reason. And then he also finds Michael Myers in like a storm drainage ditch. And for some reason he starts killing too after he meets Michael. There's like some kind of,
it's like Michael put the evil spirit in him or something.
They have like a mind meld, and but he still doesn't actually want good people to die. He only wants bad people to die. And so there's like a struggle. And then like the last 17 minutes is Laurie versus Michael finally, which is what we all wanted. But yeah.
I guess like you struggle, for me, it's like struggles because like you do have kind of like high hopes for the film. Obviously being fans of the franchise. But like, the other part was like almost in a weird way of like kind of feeling betrayed by the people who like I previously stated, I thought were, huge fans of it. Now I did know that they were like getting in and wanting it to like be a different way. Like there was different things that were supposed to happen with the final two films where like they're supposed to be like recorded back to back and be a little bit tied in better. And with COVID, things got delayed and all that. So, maybe they had to change up some of the things for that specifically, but like just like the overall atmosphere of the film as well, like didn't continue. Like where the original Halloween, there's obviously no doubt it's on Halloween, you know, like that's, and I felt like with the continuation, the 2018 Halloween, that it was, similar vibes to it. You know, Halloween just felt like a Halloween film, whereas like the last two that we got just seemed like it happened on a random Tuesday in April kind of thing. You know, it was just
didn't have that same feel to it.
Yeah. And it's like if we're
didn't have the same atmosphere.
If we have a movie with the words Halloween in it, probably should at least help the atmosphere feel like Halloween. You know, if everyone knows like Halloween has its own, like the October is starting to get cooler, it's overcast a lot, you know, leaves are falling. It just kind of missed it for this one.
But I mean, to be fair, Corey and Allison did go to a costume party in like towards the beginning.
Yeah.
That was the entirety of the.
Yeah, it was like there's like 100 days of Halloween there.
Yeah. For like, a solid 5 minutes of the movie felt like Halloween. But
yeah. And it was also like kind of confusing as well because like I feel like bullying for sure stopped after high school. You know, like maybe some bullying happened in college, I'm sure, but like just I was confused. I was like, how old are these guys? Like,
I don't know, man. Those marching band kids were vicious.
They were brutal. Yeah, that's my point. It was like, how terrible of people are you, you know, for this to just be like a common, like, where it's like, hey, there's that guy, let's throw him off this bridge, you know, or whatever the case. It just doesn't, I don't know. It just seemed like a 50s film, you know, where it's like, here's the greasers that are bad guys.
During this movie, I texted you that there was something in it that triggered me and that I was going to have a rant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was actually during that scene.
Oh, okay.
And it was when they first like encountered him on the bridge and they were like shoving him around and his glasses fell off. Mm-hmm. And then one of them stomped on his glasses.
Yeah.
If I ever saw someone do that in person, I would lose my shit.
Same.
Like, what kind of a small, insecure, and petty, pathetic person would you have to be to stomp on somebody's glasses?
Right.
Do you, like, if you do that, you are acknowledging your own lack of self-worth to the point that you are just so desperate for any type of advantage that you would exploit someone else's disability just to give yourself some kind of leg up in the short term. Like, that is just the lazy short-sightedness that is disgusting to me. And I actually wrote a really long, mean rant about it that I'm not going to go into. But I was just like, in the moment, I was just so I was just so mad at those kids, and I just wanted them all to get killed. And maybe that's what they were going for, but I just, like, even now, I'm a little mad about it. My favorite sentence from my rant was, in the long run, you are the very definition of little dick energy.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Yet again, it just felt forced because the other thing tying to it is you had the scene where the main bully was like getting talked down to by his dad, you know, like that little piece.
Yeah.
But like that's as far as it went. You know, it's just like, I'm not feeling sorry for this kid. Like,
oh no.
You know, I don't know. It was just
actively
like
cheering against him.
Yeah, it was just like it just almost to me seemed a little lazy because it's like, oh, are you trying to make us feel for the guy who's obviously going to die now? Because you know, you're trying to make us like him or like at least like understand where his anger and frustration come from, you know, through his abuse. And it's like, it's too late. It's too late. Like you've gone too far, too hard, and it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess in looking for positive stuff, I think probably my favorite scene in the movie was when you finally see like Corey in the scarecrow mask killing the doctor.
Yeah.
And then Michael's inside the house too. Mm-hmm. So like the two of them both like being active killers, I thought was cool.
Yeah.
For a very, very short period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely understand that for sure. For me though, that scene specifically was where I thought it was like the tides were turning, where it was going to be Corey like taking over.
Yeah.
And so
or like you,
oh, sorry.
I was waiting for some kind of like, you realized all of these times that he was seeing or talking to Michael, it was all just like in his head that like he had become, the supervillain or something. But yeah, it did not go that direction at all.
Yeah. And so like for me during that scene, it was just like, okay, all right, here we go. But I mean, it was still, a good scene. I just figured it was coming. That was what was going to happen.
I did have another note on that scene about the doctor. He's new money because he uses Pepsi as a mixer.
That's hilarious.
That's not class.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
If you see someone with Pepsi and Diet Pepsi in their bar, you need to just ask for a glass of wine.
Because Coke won't sponsor us.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's also like
have you ever heard anybody? Oh yeah, like I'll take a Jack and Pepsi. Like come on.
Yeah. No, it's always like, well, all we have is Pepsi, and they're like, I'll just take Jack.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I'll stay sober, thank you.
Yeah. I would rather die than drink your damn Pepsi. Yeah, that was a mess. I mean, I think the idea of it, I mean, it's interesting. They did, kill him. They did kill Michael, cut his throat, which was, I feel like a defining, like he's dead moment.
Well, and then they put him in the grinder.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the dump.
So like, there's no like that, and I understand that because it's like, you have to go way above and beyond because he's come back from like everything before.
Yeah, exactly.
Every single thing he's come back from. So I did, so they did, get that taken care of. Yeah. I'm sure we'll have some requels coming up soon. One day, at least, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, this one made too much money for them to not keep cashing in, Mm-hmm. And I think it's unfortunate because I just don't see where it would go next that would be interesting to me.
Yeah. Other than like, Corey-esque, like new style Michael Myers in a way.
Yeah.
But I do think it'll be like a new version of it coming out. Like starting over.
I felt like this one was just kind of a mess. And they're like, all right, it's wrapped up. We'll figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
When the time comes, So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, a little frustrating, but at the same time, I was actually fixed to say I don't think it's the worst that they have made, but it was that's difficult to the main thing about this one was that it made me just think about the original and all the stuff I liked about it and really want to go back and rewatch it. Yeah. Right? Like it reminded me by being the opposite of all the things I liked about, the first two. So I just kind of want to go back and watch Halloween and Halloween 2 from the originals. Yeah, no, I think that's actually incredibly fair and accurate because it's the same for me. Like after finishing that, I was like, okay, well, I just want to watch the original now. Mm-hmm. Just watch the original, or even like Rob Zombie's remake of it. Just though it was just like it didn't make me hate the franchise, which is awesome, but definitely like. It was just like, okay, well, I'm done with this. Like this is over with. So I am glad this is the last one of the trilogy. Yeah. And honestly, I think if there's a person to think in this podcast, it's Katie, because, I was fixing to start Halloween Kills thinking it was still on HBO Max, which is where the Halloween Kills was on. And not sure I remember that movie well enough to not have watched it all the way and then realize like, shh, you son of a bitch, you've already seen this, and then have to watch Halloween Ends. So shout out to my wife, lifesaver on that problem right there for sure.
And that's it for today's episode. If you've listened this far, then thank you, and we hope you've enjoyed it. We're always looking for new ideas, so if you have any questions, comments, or movie suggestions, please send us an email at thehorrificpod@gmail.com, or feel free to comment on or message our Facebook page. Just search for The Horrific Podcast. Thanks for listening.